Cool. Okay. Welcome to Flutter Recipes. This is going to be a lighter session than the previous one. I'm not going to have as many slides, and I'm going to be mostly doing demos. You can see that I have basically like 4 slides here. So what today is going to be is I'm going to show like 3 use cases that I thought were pretty common and you would encounter if you were building like a Flutter app. For any scenario, basically, it's pretty common to have those elements in your app. And I don't know how time-wise it's going to go. Might finish up in like under an hour. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any point and like ask me if something is not clear. Also, if you want me to cover some other use cases, we can go and have a go at it at the end if we have enough time. But yeah, so today is going to be I'm your presenter. I'm the vice lead of the club. Sure you see me by now. And the 3 recipes that I'm going to cover today are going to be first is image picker. So we're going to just implement basic access to users' file system and picking an image and displaying that on the screen. The second recipe is going to be the bottom app bar. Any kind of app, think of like YouTube, think of, I don't know, Instagram, whatever. Any app nowadays has a bottom app bar where you have main screens that your users want to access really quickly. It's like a one-click access to any page in your app. And the third recipe is going to be in-app notifications. So displaying any kind of toasts or even confirmation screens. If, for example, you have some entity that a user is deleting, but you don't want to like one-click delete that entity because that's unsafe. You want to warn your user saying like, hey, are you sure you want to do this kind of thing? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm just gonna jump into it and probably start with the first recipe. And once again, if you have any questions or you want to like sidetrack somewhere, that's totally fine. Let's do this. Okay. So what I have here is I've ran Flutter create. So just created a new app. It's pretty fresh. The only modification that I did was that I split. So when you create a new Flutter app, you get a basic like counter example where you have your home page and your main My App widget. And all I've done is I just put the My Home page into a separate page, basically in a separate component. So now I have kind of the separation, and I took out all like counter specific logic from here. So if we run this on Chrome, it's not going to be very exciting, but it's going to be enough for us to start implementing the upload image functionality. So let's just wait until this runs. So for the upload image, it's a tricky one actually, and I kind of want to start with it because you will have a lot of use cases like this in Flutter where you don't know how to implement the functionality. It's not listed in the official docs, and then like what do you do from there? To pick an image, you basically will need a plugin that we will install together. So yeah, this is it. We have like just a label at the center and a button we can click. So the idea is that I'm going to display an image here. And when I click a button, it's going to select from the user's library. They'll be able to select an image and it's going to show in the app. That's pretty pretty basic. So I already know this because I've done this, but you might need to do some research before you land on the page that I'm about to show, but it's a pretty good resource if you want to add some functionality to your Flutter app. So pop.dev, if I could type, is basically where you should reach out to any third-party libraries or libraries. Actually, there are some libraries that are created by Flutter that are just not included in the main release. One of them is actually image picker. So if I search up image picker, once again, here's your scores. So you can trust this library. It has like 100% popularity, 130 pub points. I think that's the maximum that you can get. Tons of likes. So I'm going to pick this one. And you can see that it has Android, iOS, and web support. I'm going to talk about web a bit later. So I'm going to focus on Android right now. I don't have, obviously, I'm on macOS. I can't really show you an iOS build, but I'm going to focus on Android. And then I'm going to talk about what web looks like a bit later. So here you can see they describe that it's like a thing for picking images from the image library or by taking new pictures with the camera. There's some setup for iOS. There is some setup for Android. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. They have a very big example of picking images and videos. I'm not gonna like try to explain what's happening here, but I'm gonna build like a stripped down version of what you see on the screen. What you see in the example here is basically like picking an image or picking a video and uploading to your app. So let's install this and try using it in our app. So I'm going to go to the installing tab here, and I'm just going to copy this command. So Flutter pub add image picker. And I'm going to paste it in here. Cool, we got our image picker, and notice it also installed like a bunch of dependencies because this library depends on a bunch of other libraries, which will also be like put in your project and will be available for you. So what this command did is if we go to our pub spec, so once again, pubspec.yaml is your main file where basically all the action happens. That's where you see all the installed packages, and you can install like images, connect images to your app, connect fonts to your app, and so on. You'll see that we have an image picker here. We didn't have that before, but here's my dependencies list, and now I depend on this image picker library. So cool, we got that. Now let's go on and kind of implement the functionality here. So right now my floating action button is doing nothing. I wanted to trigger the upload of an image. So I'm gonna create a method that's called upload image. So it's just gonna be void methods. And what we will need is we'll need a picker object. So if we go back to this example, you can see they have a bunch of controllers, but I think somewhere in here they should also have a picker. Let's see, yeah, picker, let's search for this. Here, so we need this, we need the image picker. So it's going to complain straight away because it doesn't know what this is. You'll need to resolve this by adding an import statement to this package. So whatever ID you're using, I'm using VS Code, but you should have like shortcuts to auto import package. In my case, it's control dot, and then I can just select this import library option, and it adds an import statement at the top of your component. Cool, I have a picker, and it's going to tell me that it's unused, isn't used. So let's actually use this. So let's see what methods are available in the picker. So it has a bunch of methods here. You can pick an image, which we're probably going to use, but you can also pick multiple images, or you could pick a video, so on. So I'm going to choose this method, and it's requiring a source. So straight away, I don't really know what this means. But if I hover over this parameter, and this is like the process that you're going to follow for any API that is available in Flutter, either built in or external. If you don't know what something is or what you should pass into the function, just hover over the parameter that is required and see what the type is. Odds are that either you need to create this, or there's going to be like some static, or this is like an enum and you'll need to have a selection in here. And also there is like documentation describing what this is. In my case, it says that the source argument controls whether the image comes from. So it could either be image source camera or image source gallery. That makes sense, right? Like, so I could either pick a new image by taking it with my camera, or picking an existing image from the gallery. So I'm going to select the gallery one for now. So I want image source gallery. Let's see what this returns. So this returns a future of nullable xfile. So futures are things that are going to resolve in the future. Obviously, like a user could be picking an image for like minutes, and your app needs to wait for the user to complete this action, and then you can actually modify the file, use the file, display it in your UI. So to handle futures in your app, you will need to use async await kind of notation. And if you have questions about that, I can link to resources where you can read about this more. But essentially, you can declare your function as async, which means that it's going to complete asynchronously. It's going to be waiting for whatever processes are happening within the body of the function, and it might take some time to execute. And I'm going to declare an xfile variable. I'm going to await my pick image. So it's going to complain because it cannot assign an optional xfile to an xfile. And what this means is here is like Flutter's null safety kicking in, because this type right here, it is saying like, hey, your variable could be of type xfile, or it could be null. But I declared a variable that is just xfile. It cannot handle nulls at all. So I need to either handle the null case and then assign to my variable, or I need to make it nullable, which probably I'm going to go with a second approach. So now I need to check if my file was actually picked. So you could think of this by maybe the user didn't select any files, right? So I need to check if file is equal to null. In this case, I'm just going to return from this function. I don't want to do anything. Nothing will change in my app. You could handle this differently. You could display a message or something. But I'm just going to do nothing, basically like early return from my method. Cool. Now we have a file. We actually got it. And now we can operate on it. So I'm going to store it as a piece of state in my widget. So I'm going to create an xfile variable. It's going to be optional as well. And it's going to be an uploaded file. is going to be null by default. So here, I just want to assign it, and remember that if you're changing a state in your widget, you need to you need to wrap that in a set state call so that your UI updates and your widget re-renders. So that's what I'm going to do. So set state, then inside I'm going to call uploaded file equals file. Okay, so far so good. We are tracking a state on our widget, but we're not displaying this anywhere. So instead of this sized box, I want to display an image element. And for now, so you could just provide an image, and this is of type image provider, but there are other options how to display this. So if you actually, so once again, a common pattern, if you see that your constructor of your widget from any API doesn't work for you, make sure to check some static constructors, or like they're called name constructors in Dart. So if you type dot here, I see that I have some other options available. And these options basically tell me, maybe it's a different use case for my implementation. Maybe I have an asset or a file or something in memory I want to render. In my case, because a person chose a file, I'm going to use a file constructor, and you'll see that we can just pass an instance of a file there. So we need to pass it something, and what this expects is actually a file type. And note it's not an xfile, because xfile is a special type that is only makes sense in the context of the image picker library. But we can easily create a file instance here, and file is from the input-output library of Flutter. So I can say file, and I'm going to pass the path to my uploaded file. So uploaded file dot path. I think it doesn't know what the file is. Yeah, we need to import it from dart.io. It's also a built-in library with Dart. And let's see what it's complaining about. So the values in a const list literal must be constants. This is a relatively new thing that they added. Basically, Flutter is going to warn you if a piece of code could be constant, so it's easier for Flutter to render. So you can see here in my column, I'm declaring all of its children as const. So it's a constant list. But because we have a state here that's going to change, I cannot really pre-compute this. Previously, when I just had sized box, it was fine because that was the state of the children of the column could be determined before even rendering them on the screen. But now I have something changing in here, so I cannot really have a const before the list of items. So now it's going to straight up tell me that this could be const, prefer const with constant constructors. So I need to add const before text to make it constant. And now only this piece could be pre-computed while this is changing. And we have one more error, and this is going to tell us that can't be unconditionally accessed because the receiver can be null. And what this is saying is our uploaded file, if you remember, we declared it as an optional xfile. So somewhere in the app, there could be a use case where the upload file will be null, and this will crash because it doesn't know what dot path of null is. So what I can do is I can either check if our uploaded file exists, and then we can safely access the path off of it. Or I can optional chain here, but it's not going to work because once again, you can see that an optional string can be assigned to the string. The file constructor expects a definite string, not an optional one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not even render this if I don't have an uploaded file. So this is a very special syntax that you can use in lists and Dart. It's unlike other languages, but I can just insert an if statement in here. I can say that if uploaded file is not equal to null, render this guy. It's going to still complain because sometimes Dart is not smart enough to kind of see that I'm checking for null here. But because I am, I can force it to think that this uploaded file is a definite X file and not an optional one. So I'm going to insert a exclamation mark here. This means that, hey, this type is optional, but look, we already checked that it can be null. So for sure, I can like say that this is not null, it's a definite type. And here's your path. Let's see if this works. I don't think we have any other errors. So I'm going to bring, I'm going to stop this from running. I'm going to run this on my Pixel emulator, which I have in here. Let's see if this works. Right, this, I think I can omit assigning to null because of this is optional, it's going to be null by default. So I don't even need this. While this is running, any questions so far? And is everything clear? So for web, it's going to be a bit different. So far, so good. Cool. So for web, it's going to be a bit different. I'm going to double check that it works on an Android device, but because web is a bit weird, we'll need to use an image network instead of an image file, and I'll show how that works. Okay, here is our app. I'm going to hit this plus button, and we launch our file picker. So I already have an image selected in here. If I click this, here we go. We're displaying this image. And this is because our uploaded file is not null. Here's our image file. You can display it in the app. So obviously styling is off and all of that. I'm not going to quite focus on it here, but the functionality is there. We can upload an image. We can display it in the app. So let me show you one more thing. Let's try the other image source. So we had an option of camera in here. And if I specify camera, let's reload, let's see if this works. Yeah, this is going to launch the camera. I don't know, Android, obviously this emulator doesn't have an actual camera attached to it. And it's not going to use the camera of my device. So they have like something built in here where you can pick images of this guy. So I can snap an image. I can either retake the image, I can bail, or I can accept the image, and this is going to be the new image. You can see that the image changed. So yeah, this is pretty neat. Like you basically need to switch one option, and you have a picking of an image from your camera source or from your gallery. So I'm going to switch this back to gallery, and we're going to try to run it in web, see how that works. So I'm going to stop the app, save this, switch my device to Chrome, and let's run this and see what happens. I was doing this yesterday and I was trying to get the web version to run properly. It took me some time to figure out what was happening there. I'm going to talk through like my discoveries and what was wrong. I still don't think it behaves the way it's supposed to. At least I didn't get it to work properly. So here's our web version. Let's click this button. Everything crashes horribly. It even gives me some like a report problem that Chrome crashed. So, and this is the awful part because I don't get any feedback of what happened. So searching through the internet seems like you can't really do image picking in debug mode, which is very weird. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually battling two problems here, so I'm not sure which one of them is it failing on. But another way you can run your Flutter app is through the console. And you could run it, surprisingly enough, you're running it in debug mode. But for some reason, it works for me in the console and doesn't work for me through the IDE. So what I can do is I can say Flutter run. And I think, let's see what this does, but this might pick my Android device as the default one. Yeah, see how it's doing a Gradle sample? So I don't want that. I want it to run in Chrome. So what I can do is I can list the available devices or available runtimes that Flutter can run on. So I can do Flutter, I think it's devices. Yeah, so you can see that I can run on an emulator, which is the default option. I can run on Chrome or Linux. And what I'm going to do now, I know that this is my ID of my device. I can do Flutter run and then -d for device and run on Chrome. Let's see what happens. So now it's building for Chrome. And hopefully this should open my Chrome window. So the other issue, aside from this debugging piece, is that we might need to select the file differently, which I already talked about, but we'll see what happens. Okay, here's my app. Let's click this button. Oh, and this actually works, surprisingly. Let's try and picking an image, see if that works. Up like this, Apple image. Ooh, okay, we got an error. This is better one than it was before. It doesn't just crash. At least I get like something in here. Let's read what this error is. Wonder if this will be available in here. Yeah, okay, so the following unsupported error was thrown, resulting in image codec, unsupporting operation namespace. Doesn't tell you a whole lot. Honestly, like I needed to do some Stack Overflow search to find out what this is. But essentially what it is seems like web doesn't really support picking from your, or like accessing your storage, internal device storage. So what happens on the web when you pick an image is it's going to store or cache the image. It's going to download it from your device, but it's going to cache it in the internal storage of the website. And then when you want to display this image, you're actually going to display it by URL and not by file location. So to fix this, what we'll need to do is to do some platform-specific code. So I'm going to stop this from running. And if we have an uploaded file, I also want to check if I'm on the web or not. And the way you can do this in Flutter is a very interesting one. There is a constant for it. So k is web is usually how you check if you're on the web or not. So if I'm on the web, I'm going to do things differently from if I'm not on web, if I'm on mobile. So what I want to do is I want to select network and just don't create the file here, just put the path in the network. So as I mentioned, the uploaded file's path is going to be like a URL we can access through image network, and that's how it works on web. You can read about this more in the package that that is in there. But actually, if I go back to the example code, let's see if I can find this place. Let's search for K's web. Yeah, see here for video player controller, they're using network for on web, and they're just passing the file path. For other systems, they're using the file object way. I think there's going to be more. Yeah, here's exactly what we did. So use network for web, use file for mobile. Let's see if this works. This constant is very fun as well. If you control click on it, it's going to check if, like, all it is, it's checking if 0 and 0.0 are identical. And it can determine you're running on web because, like, it's handling floats storage differently from like platforms like iOS, Android, or desktop apps. So I don't know, I find this very interesting. There's a description here as well. So yeah, let's try this. So we're picker, and here's our apple. So yeah, make sure that this is a pain point as well. So two things for web: make sure to run it on the console. Second one, make sure to use image network to display the image in the app. So that's our first recipe. I'm gonna switch to another one. Any questions up until this point? If not, I'm gonna continue with our bottom navigation bar. I wanna kind of switch between two pages in here. How are we doing? So recognizing your upload image method. Interesting. Are you sure you're declaring it inside your homepage state? So any internal methods need to be declared in the same class as the build method in order for it to be accessible in the fab. And also make sure it's like a void. You can optionally specify return type here. But usually it's, if you omit it, it means that the method is void. Cool. Okay, yeah, try that and that should fix the issues. It says I'm referencing it before it's declared. if you don't mind, we can probably get back to this in the end of the session, or if you want to, you can share your screen and we can quickly go through this if that's also an option. Do you want to share your screen real quick? Okay, yeah, that works. We'll do this at the end. Okay, I'm going to move on with the bottom up bar. So let's define what I want to do. So right now I have the screen where I can upload an image. What I want to do is I want to have two options in here. I want to have a welcome page where all my users are going to land, and then I have an image picker page where people can pick images, and I can switch between them. So the way you do this is in the scaffold widget. There are a lot of things here, so I can just do Control Space and see what options I have. And one of them is our bottom navigation bar, and I'm going to talk about this and what this is. A bottom navigation bar expects a widget, so it doesn't really tell you what should go there, and I guess you have multiple options, but there is a specific widget that is called bottom navigation. Let's see what it requires. So bottom navigation bar needs a bunch of items. And you can see from the declaration that they are required, so you can't really omit them. And the error that it's giving straight away is saying that this named parameter items is required. So I will need to specify that. And let's see what items is. So items is a list of bottom navigation bar item. So I can open up a list, and I'm just guessing I need 2 bottom navigation bar items. So here's my item. It requires an icon, and it will also need either a label or a title, I think, or a tooltip. Something specifying for accessibility that there is not just an icon here, but for people with disabilities or impaired sight, if they're using like specific devices to read your screen, we need to provide a kind of a label for this option. So apart from an icon, which I can easily do with an icon widget, so I can just put an icon here. I think I want home for this one. I also need something like a tooltip. And a tooltip is going to say home. Cool. I got a bunch of errors. Let's see what they say. So first one is prefer const literals as parameters for constructors. We already tackled that. It's saying that this whole thing is constant. I don't need to recompute this, so I just put constant here. Second thing is this. So let's see, 1 positional argument is expected, but 0 found. And this is because I messed up how icons work. In icon, you don't provide an icon parameter, you just provide the icon itself. Let's do a second one and see how this looks. So bottom navigation bar item. Second one is going to be like, there are multiple different ones, but I think I want like image, something like that. And the tooltip is going to be image picker. Wonder if hot reload is going to work here. Let's see. It's actually doing a hot restart. I hit R in the terminal, and that triggers the hot restart of the app. Ooh, okay. So it's saying that either the title or the label should not be null. So I get this scary error, but if you read this, it's saying that like there's assertion that failed, and the assertion says that items every bottom navigation bar item, the title should not be null, or the label should not be null. So I provided a tooltip. I actually need like either title or a label. Let's do label. Let's try hot reloading this. Cool, and here's our options. We can kind of click them, not switch between them, but we can definitely see that there are two things in here. And what I'm going to do next is actually change what's displayed in the body of the scaffold depending on what option I have selected. So to do that, I'll need an extra piece of state. So in our bottom navigation bar, apart from items, I also have a current index, and the current index determines which option is selected. So our current index is going to be, I'm going to call this bottom nav bar index. This is going to be a piece of state that I'm going to put at the top. So int bottom nav bar index, by default, it's going to be 0 because I want to land on the home page. And yeah, this private field could be final, but it's actually not going to be, because I'm going to reassign bottom nav bar index if this selection changes. The way you can do that is by having an on tap in your bottom navigation bar. And once again, what is on tap? It's a function that accepts an integer. So it's going to accept which index did we select from our bottom navigation bar. So current index is our parameter. And I want to do something depending on it. So what I'm going to do is, don't forget your set state, because we are updating the state of our app. And then I just want to assign bottom nav bar index to this current index. Let's reload. Or restart, rather, actually, I think Shift R is reload and R is restart. Either way, it should be fine. And here we go. You can see that the selection changes. Before that, I wasn't able to change the highlighted item, but now it actually changes, but nothing happens. You see that we'll still see our page here. So let's add a second one and display it optionally, depending on our index. Pretty trivial how to do that. Could just put a ternary in here. So I might refactor this at the end, but here's our first page. This is the center column that we see here, and it has our upload. So I'm gonna create a ternary and see if our index, so bottom nav bar index, if it's equal to 0, I want to render something else. But otherwise, I want to render our center widget. So what I want to render is basically like a center with a text in it saying like, welcome. And this is straight up saying this could be const. So, and the center needs a child, which I forgot. Okay, so once again, if our index is 0, render this welcome page. If it's anything else, render a center widget. And this works fine if there are 2 options, right? You could think of apps where you have more than 2 options, like 3, 4 options. So you might want to create a method that takes an index and renders a page for you, depending on that index. But let's see how this looks. So we see our welcome page. And then if I switch to the other one, we have an upload an image. If I actually upload something and switch back, we still see our welcome. This is still in place. We can switch between them. So the status, because this is the same widget, the status persisted. One last tweak that I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide this uploads, or actually this still says increment, but because of this tooltip. But I'm going to hide this floating action button on the welcome page because there's nothing to upload. Actually, I'm going to tweak this a bit. So I only want to show the floating action button if we're on the second page. So I'm going to say that bottom navbar index, if it's 0, I want nothing. So null. And if you provide null, it's just not going to be there because floating action button is optional, an optional parameter in the scaffold. And let's tweak this a bit. So the tooltip is going to say upload. And let's switch the image to something more appropriate. I wonder if there's like an upload. Yeah, there's an upload icon that we can use. So let's save this. I'm gonna try hot reloading. It's still doing a hot restart. I'm not sure what the shortcut for hot reload is. Well, let's see. Cool, we don't see the floating action button. If I switch to this page, you see it appears, even with this nice animation. I don't know how well it's visible on Zoom, but it's like hiding to the center of itself. And yeah, this is pretty cool. We can optionally show this fab depending on what page you are. Okay, recipe 2 done. Once again, any questions about the bottom navigation? If not, I'm going to move on to displaying toasts and confirmation screens and all of that fun stuff. I'm actually going to tweak this a bit. I don't want this text to appear if I have an image uploaded, so you can use an else here. So if we don't have an uploaded file, we can say display a text. I'm actually going to switch to Android because it's going to be easier to debug this way. So I'm going to stop this and switch my device. Okay, I assume we're good. So while this runs, I'm going to talk about how to do in-app notifications. So in Android, you might be, if you've done any development or heard of like notifications in Android, you might have heard of snack bars and toasts. And in Flutter, both of them are represented with snack bars because toasts is like just a simplified snack bar. I'm going to show what that is. It's going to be more, you'll understand it better if it's your first time encountering it. Okay. Our app is good to go. So first thing that I want to do is I want to display some kind of message when our image is uploaded. So when after we set state here, I want to display a message and possibly even undo the action that we did when we uploaded an image from the gallery. So the way you do this is through scaffold messenger. Sorry. In scaffold messenger, you'll need to use auth context because it needs to understand which context do you want to use it off of. It has a bunch of methods. A lot of things you can do here, one of which is going to be a show snack bar. There's show material banner, which is actually, I think, another way of displaying some information on the screen. There's show snack bar, there's remove current snack bar, things like that. So I'm going to use this method, and it requires a snack bar. So if I hover over it, it says that I need a snack bar. And what is a snack bar? It's a built-in material widget that has a lot of options in it. Has content, background color, elevation, things you can customize about it. But what we care is just the content, and I just want to display a simple message. So I'm just going to say text, image uploaded. Once again, says that I can do const before it because it can be pre-computed. Let's format this a bit better. Cool, let's see if this works. So I'm going to save this, go to our image picker, upload an image. And here's our little information thingy here, image uploaded. This could be in two. So let's talk about what options you get in the snack bar. You could have an action, which is an interesting one, and maybe a good example would be implementing an undo action. So an action is a snack bar action. I think this means that it's just. I doubt you could instantiate that. Let's try, but I'm hesitant. Oh, actually, this is pretty good. I did the other way yesterday, but this is good. So the label probably requires a string, which is our undo, and onPressed is just a void function of what you want to do if the action is hit. So let's do a set state, and I'm just going to put the uploaded file to null. Okay, this is horribly complaining, probably because of const. Yeah, evaluation of this constant expression throws an exception, so I can't really specify constant here. I need to move it to another widget. Cool. Format that, and let's see if this works. So I'm going to hot restart. Switch to the image picker, upload an image. And if I hit undo, we don't get the image because it's set to null. Cool. I think this works pretty good. So another thing you can customize about the snack bar is the way it's presented, and this is what makes it a toast rather than a snack bar. So if you can see, if I upload an image, it's displaying above my bottom action bar, bottom navigation bar in this area right here, but I can make it floating. So I think it's a type. Let's see. It's a behavior, and the behavior accepts a snack bar behavior. We have fixed and floating. I think fixed is by default, and let's try floating and see how that looks. So here's our floating snack bar. So once again, it's going to be like floating above all other material elements, but I'm pretty sure you can customize where it's appearing in here. And yeah, you can specify a lot of different things if you want me. If you want to, I can try different things. There's dismiss direction. You can specify to dismiss the snack bar, kind of like what happens when it's visible, shape, with things like that. But this is the snack bar in action. Let's cover probably one of the last things I'm going to cover today, apart from what we're going to be doing extra, is showing like a confirmation screen. I'm going to show how easy that is as well. So we already can undo, and that deletes our image, but let's actually like implement an explicit delete with a button. So I'm going to throw a button somewhere in here. So we have this column with children. So if it's a bit messy, but let's leave it at this. But if we have an uploaded file, we could specify that we want an elevate button. On pressed, it's going to do something, and the child is just going to be a text of delete. And maybe let's add some style to it so it looks like a delete button. So we can specify some button style. Set the background color to red. Tricky thing, background color expects a material state property. It's an interesting concept because your button could have multiple states. It could have a hover state, disabled state, a pressed state, normal states, different ones, right? So for now, I just don't care about it, but I do need to provide material state. So I can say material state property dot all, which means display this color for all the states of the button. Colors dot red. And let's see how that looks like. Again, this needs a const. Yeah, I think this is good. So let's save this. Here's my delete button, does nothing right now. So let's fix that. Once again, I'm going to do the same thing I've done on the undo. Just set state of upload file now. Hey, now it actually can delete our image. So that's fine for this use case when you have just like an image. It's pretty innocent. But if you have like an action that will, I don't know, make a transaction or delete an entity that took a lot of time to create, you probably want a confirmation screen. So before we do our onPressed in here, I'm actually going to throw a dialog and display how that behaves. So onPressed, I want to, and this is just a built-in function that's available anywhere in your app. You can do show dialog. A lot of things you can show. You can show about dialog, general dialog, Cupertino dialog if you're developing for iOS. There is a date picker, a date range picker, a lot of different things to explore, but I'm going to focus on show dialog for now. It needs a context to act in. It's just going to be the current context of our app. It needs a builder. So a builder is a function that takes in a context and renders something within our show dialog. So whenever you see a builder, it's pretty much going to follow this pattern where you pass in a context, which usually don't care about. That's why I put an underscore in here. You could put anything like context, for example. And I'm going to show an alert dialog. Cool. So inside this alert dialog, I could have a bunch of actions, which actually I'm going to put some in here. But most importantly, I need the body of the alert dialog, or rather the content. The content is going to be a simple text of Are you sure you want to delete this image? And the actions, I mean, I know this is going to be constant, so I'm just going to put it here. And the actions, we'll just put 2, either cancel or confirm. So it could be, I'm going to go with a text button and an elevation button. So a text button, something's going to happen when we press it, but the child is a text of cancel. So const text. And what is going to happen is basically we need to close our dialog. The way you close your dialog is you just pop the navigation context. And this is a different concept of like having a navigation stack. But the way you do this is with using navigator. You can do navigator.ofContext.pop. And what this says is like, hey, we displayed our dialog in our app. This changed our navigation stack. So we kind of moved to, there's another thing displaying over our app. Now I want to pop the topmost element from my navigation stack, which is going to be the dialog. So here you go. That's how you cancel the dialog. And the second thing I want is an elevation button, which on pressed is actually going to also close the dialog. But before closing it, it's going to do our set state of upload file null. We actually want to perform the action. It's going to be our confirm button. So child is just a text of confirm. Okay, so let's kind of go over what we did here again. We created an elevation button, which is our delete button. Has a child of delete, has a red background. On pressed, we are showing a dialog. We have the context and a builder. We're showing this alert dialog with just a simple message in here. And we have 2 actions. It's a text button and an elevated button. So the text button is going to just pop the context, kind of close this dialog. The elevated button is going to change the state of our app, but also close the dialog. So let's save this and see how this works. I'm going to upload an image and click our delete button. So see how the image didn't disappear straight away? It is waiting for me to choose something from this dialog. So I can either confirm or cancel. If I cancel, nothing happens. It just closed the dialog. If I confirm, our image disappears. Everything is good. So yeah, this is how you do confirmation dialogues on your on any action you want to perform. And I think this is pretty easy to implement. Like you just use this built-in show dialog function. And that's pretty much it. So it is, by the way, show dialog is a future function. So you could potentially await it. If you want to, like after showing a dialog, you want to perform another action, you could throw an await in here. Maybe make this an async. And do something else after showing the dialog. So that's also an option, and it actually returns, I think you can specify like a, so it's a T kind of your template type, but you could specify a success or a failure. For example, you could have a show dialog of Boolean, in which case you'll need to like return something from the navigator saying like either we succeeded or failed in this alert dialog. anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but there is functionality available for you there. That is everything I had prepared for this session. Does anybody have any questions, or do you want me to go over something again? Or if everything's clear, we can resolve the issue we were having with Eric here. How are we feeling? Okay. If everything that I've done is clear, whether there's anything you want me to try or do, we can just, I think, Eric, you can share your screen and we can kind of go over your code so it can help you out with what formatting issues you have. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna stop sharing.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so.
Cool, Gavin. Thanks for joining. I'll see you around. All right.
So I sorry, I kind of tried to fix some formatting errors and got lost with the follow along. I can go back and watch. Is the recording going to be posted to the YouTube channel?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna post
Okay,
it,
good.
but I think we can fix your issues pretty quickly here.
Okay.
So one thing I would like you to do is you have your code at the end grayed out, which means it's not used or it can be reached by the compiler. What I want you to do is start like collapsing things so we can see which methods we're in and what we're operating on. So this scaffold that you have on line 127, let's kind of collapse where the beginning of that is and see which functions we're even in. So yeah, if you hover over like the line number, I think you'll have an option to collapse. Yeah, just hit that arrow. Cool. So we're inside our build method. So that's probably your first issue. If you're putting your upload function, if you want access to it, I mean, you could put it in, potentially put it in the build methods. You could put it before the return statement though. Like the way the reason your code is grayed out is because the return statement already returns something before that code is even reached.
Oh, is that what's going on here?
Yeah. But what I would recommend is just putting it outside the build function, but make sure it's inside the class.
Okay, so the build function is here.
Mm-hmm.
So take.
Be careful. Yeah, probably you want that brace. And yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, so now you're good, but you still have some errors inside the upload image. So let's
one thing I think I realized is I put the image picker in main instead of the state. So
yeah, make sure to move that because you want those variables accessible in the class you're working in, right?
Yes.
Cool.
So what was the end of this line again? It's like
you just need to make sure to make the uploaded file optional. So put a question mark after xfile. It means that it could accept
it's nullable, yeah.
Yeah. And you're just missing a semicolon at the end, I think.
Okay.
So let's look at your upload image. So do you have picker defined? So you're missing a underscore, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So context is a bit of magic. If you're working inside of a stateful widget, you have a piece of state. You can see that, like if you scroll to the declaration of this class, it's inheriting from state of my page, and the state class exposes this context property that you can use inside of your class, right? If you use inheritance, you could extend, like you can use all the properties of the thing you're extending. So you do need to follow like an exact name of it, which is lowercase context. I think you have uppercase context in your.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. What does the snack bar action say? What is that error? Relation of this expression throws an exception. So yeah, this is a weird constant thing that they added. The reason for this is because you on line 144, you have const before snack bar, but your action is actually gonna not gonna be definite. It's not constant. So you do need to remove that const before snack bar. And your error is gone, but now like text is gonna complain because this could be constant. And you can put const before text and resolve that. And you're missing a semicolon after one, well, actually a closing brace, closing bracket and semicolon. So set state accepts a function. It's like a function that accepts a function. So yeah, you need this way. Cool. What else?
What is this?
I think you have some brace mismatch, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, I think you didn't close your snack bar. So you have a show snack bar method, and yeah, you need to close both.
Okay.
So in order to format everything on, if you're in VS Code, you can press Control-Shift-I, I think.
It's not usually Control-S works for me, but it hasn't been working.
Oh, right. And the formatting is only going to work if all the errors are resolved. And I see that you have one error.
There are.
I think it's in the scaffold that we collapsed.
Yeah, it is. That was here. There's something with this.
Yes. Okay, let's see. So have a scaffold, you declare a body. If your index, right, you're missing a colon after center, because in your ternary, you need a question mark and a colon. Actually, before your center on line 90, just to put a colon there. And you don't need that brace.
Do I just need the closing one?
You need the opening one because you are declaring a center widget.
Okay.
And just remove the closing one because your declaration is below.
Yeah,
cool. Okay, we got rid of all the errors. Try Control-Shift.
Oh, yeah, it worked.
Cool.
Doing a hot restart. I have a...
Yeah, see if this works.
Oh, right. It's not sharing all of my entire screen. It kind of comes up as that.
Right, that's the same error that I had, right? That's telling you that each item should have a title and a label. Do you have either a title or a label in your navbar item?
The navbar.
So you do scroll up a bit.
Oh, it's here.
You have a tooltip, but I switched that to a label in my code as well because I was getting.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is.
Okay, you're not able to switch.
No, I'm not.
But yeah, I think that's because you haven't implemented the on tap in the.
Yes, I was trying to fix those other things. Also, I commented out the image upload thing because I was having problems with that as well.
Yeah, this is a very like specific syntax in Dart. You can't really use figure the brackets after in if statements. You can only do like one line if statements in here. It's a bit weird. So if you just get rid of those curly brackets and an extra comma, and you'll need to import the file as well. So just hit Control dots on the file. You want the IO one. And then we just need to enforce it. Yeah, you can add a null check if you want. I think that's fine. So yeah, it's only a one line if you want to add an if statement inside your list of items.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I accidentally closed the Chrome thing, I think. Nope, it is. All right.
Yeah.
Floating action.
Your upload image is actually not used.
Yeah.
I can see on line 130. So.
I'm gonna restart. There it is.
There you go.
Cool.
And then you'll probably need to fix your image.
Yeah.
Right, you're on the image. You're on the other screen. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow the video. I'll probably upload it today if you want to add that functionality.
Yeah.
Do you have any other things or questions you want to go over, or maybe challenges that you faced in your project?
One of them was, well, this may have answered some of it, but we wanted to make like different pages that displayed different collections of images.
Okay.
So like I might be able to do something with the nav bar down here, but like
I'm gonna quickly show you how you can organize this.
Yeah.
In your app.
Yeah, I saw there's something something in scaffolds like that organizes it into a grid or something.
Yeah. I was even rather thinking splitting it into different files and organizing your project so it's easier to maintain if you want like separate pages that display separate information.
Oh yeah.
I can quickly show you if you want. I'm gonna take.
Sure.
Let me share my screen. I think you'll need to stop.
All right. Yeah, I need to stop screen share.
So, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but what we've done here is, like here, we only handled a very simple ternary, but ultimately this could be your first screen, this could be your second screen. So I could potentially just create like two files. Let's just quickly do that. So
okay,
like list one dart, and I'm gonna have list two dart. And this is just going to be a stateless widget. So I'm just going to call it list one.
Right, because that's what that just holds the information that gets generated on the page. The window, so it doesn't have a state.
Yeah, that's because I just want this text here. If you will have state in it, you'll need to switch to a stateful widget. But
yeah,
my purposes, I only need like list one here. It's even going to tell me it needs to be constant. So very easy. It automatically imports your package in here. And I'm just going to put this in here. Child, I believe. Yeah. Oh, this is funny. Yeah, because I'm not using any like container specific logic. It's saying that it's unneeded. So.
right.
Cool. So this is my list one, and then list two is going to be my stateful thing.
Yeah.
So list two. Then you want the material option. And I'm just going to put all of my logic, all of my logic there. So this is going to be a list two. Sure. And this goes in here. So missing a bunch of stuff. So let's bring the state over. And you'll basically want to do this if your component starts to grow pretty big. So I can actually put both of these guys. So I'm just ripping state from one component and moving it to the other component.
Yeah.
I will need to import my packages. And let's see what we're missing. K's web also needs to be imported. File needs to be imported. See what we're missing here. Comma. Right, and then upload image also needs to happen inside. So this is going to be a bit trickier because the floating action button is still left in our parent widget, but our action needs to happen like in the child widget. Oh, what I could do is I could actually leave the state in here. So I will actually move both the picker and the upload file in there. Actually, this is going to be a good example because I want to pass the file to my list too. So I can put the state back. So nothing can place right now, but I kind of want to use this upload file because right now I'm not using it for anything. I'm just like setting it. So I could pass it to my list too. So like image is, or rather file is uploaded file. What do they call it? And it says it doesn't accept anything, but we can fix that by accepting an xfile. So an optional xfile of upload image, or sorry, file rather. And then you can just generate the constructor that's adding your file to the constructor.
Okay.
No longer could be constant. And it should be final, which means it cannot be reassigned. I guess it could be constant. And then instead of uploaded file, we can just use, our widget file. So I'm just going to select all occurrences here and replace it with widgets.file. So you need to put widget dots to access, because this is a stateful widget and our parameter is on our stateful widget class. I can't easily access it in the state. So I need to access it with widgets.file. What is this saying? Oh, right. Okay, I'm running into issues here, but you get the point, because you will need to maintain like we'll need to have like an on delete in this page as well.
Yeah.
But you could put it in here. And this looks much better because have you just like two lists of things, and then you can modify this one, do what you want.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want me to?
For now, I don't think so.
Cool.
Still kind of learning Flutter on my own. It's going well.
Cool. Yeah, I hope you like it. Once again, like if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll either make a workshop like this, or we could even like just chat on Discord and
Discord, yeah. All right. Yeah, if I need help with anything, keep that in mind.
Yeah, if you want to, I would really encourage you submitting your project for demo day, because we have a very similar competition coming up in December, and chances are you will have pretty good chances of winning as well. So. Especially with Flutter, you'll get bonus points from me. So.
For Google technology, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Yeah, let's wrap this up. I think this was a informative session.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop